Are you a lover of edged weapon melee combat with a little Dragon Ball Z mixed in? Have I got a game for you. Hey Questers, and welcome to BMF, your home for all things Oculus Quest. Today's video is all about Ironlights, the new upcoming 1v1 melee combat game coming to the Oculus Quest and other VR headsets a little later this year. Over the weekend, I had the chance to spend time with the developer in the game as he walked me through the game's mechanics, gameplay, and multiplayer system. I have to say I'm quite impressed by what they've been able to do both when it comes to gameplay and visuals on the Quest. Before we jump into more about the game, the devs are currently running a Kickstarter to finish off the game, and they're sitting at 80% of their $15,000 goal with 10 days left. If you like the looks of the game, you can pre-order it on Kickstarter, and you can even get into the private beta of the game, which will be launching soon. I'll leave a link in the description. As a special bonus, if you back the project for private beta access, let me know in the comments and I'll pick 3 random people who will get the chance to face off against me in Ironlights once the private beta launches. Now, let's take a look at Ironlights. As I mentioned before, Ironlights is a melee combat game designed from the ground up for virtual reality. I was able to test out the multiplayer, but at launch, the game will also include a single player as well. Before we even jump into the matches, let's talk about customization. There are quite a few different customization options available to customize your avatar. You can change your armor type, armor metal, helm type, and even the accent color of your armor. This allows for a ton of customization options, and as part of the Kickstarter, if the goal is met, then they plan on adding an additional 4 armor types to the mix as well. The armor looks fantastic, and the shine they were able to get on the armor on the Quest is just amazing, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. Once the armor is all set, it's time to jump into a match. Now, the build I played did not have single player ready, but jumping into an online match is super simple, even for friends. There's an option for quick match for a random match, but if you want to play against a friend, all you need to do is edit the private game tag. Both you and your friend enter your game tag, and then one of you hosts while the other joins, and you'll match right up. One awesome thing about this is if you're part of a guild or clan and want to jump into a clan match, then each clan can have a specific private game tag that'll allow clan-only matches with anyone online. Now it's time to talk about the gameplay itself. There are 5 different classes in the game, and each class uses a different weapon and functions totally differently, from weapon weight to fighting style. Each class has a different ranged attack on top of the melee attacks. One quick thing to note before getting into the classes, this game is unique in that during melee combat, when weapons clash against another weapon or shield, it shatters and requires you to swing back to energize it again. This may sound odd, but the mechanic works really well, and it allows for a more realistic feel to the battle, instead of swords flying through each other or getting caught together as your arm swings through and your weapon doesn't. First up, we have the Knight. The Knight has a large 2-sided sword, and due to its size, it can be more cumbersome than some of the other weapons, meaning you'll need to get the hang of fighting with it and using its weight to your advantage. The blade can also be held with 2 hands for more control. Another awesome and realism adding aspect of this game is with the Knight's sword, if you're trying to swing in the direction of the broad flat part of the blade, it'll move slower due to wind resistance. But if you swing in the direction of the edge, it'll cut through the air. I probably didn't need to mention that, but I thought it was awesome, and it shows just how much time and detail went into the melee combat. For the ranged attack, you hold down the trigger and slash towards your enemy, and it creates a slash of energy that goes flying towards your opponent. Next up, we have the Duelist, which uses a rapier-style blade and also gives you a small round shield for your offhand. Due to the size of the blade, it's super fast and really allows you to move the blade around very quickly. It feels totally different from using the Knight's broadsword, with much less weight and wind resistance. This sword works for slashing, but it's also great for stabbing due to the length and speed of the blade. Along with the sword, you also get a small round shield to block enemy attacks. Although the shield does not shatter when hit like the weapon, it will get smaller over time with repeated hits, and then it'll take time to regenerate. This class's ranged attack fires energy bolts by pulling the sword back towards you and holding the trigger and thrusting the blade forward. Now we have one of my favorites, the Monk. If you ever wanted to feel like Darth Maul, then you'll love this class. The monk gives you a bow staff as a weapon, and you can hold it with 1 or 2 hands. You can also spin the staff in the air by gripping it and flicking your wrist, and at the same time letting go of the grip button. It feels and looks awesome. The staff has 2 shatter points, 1 on either side of the staff. The staff feels light and balanced, and again, the realism kicks into play here. You have to be mindful of where you're swinging your staff, because if the staff passes through your avatar's body, it'll slow down its speed. The monk's ranged attack allows you to hold down the trigger and pull back on your staff like a bow and arrow and send energy arrows towards your enemy. Next up is the ninja class, and the weapons for the ninja class are dual-wielded katars. These 2 blades slice through the air very quickly, and they make for a great defensive weapon as well, with the ability to block with either arm. The blades become more of an extension of your arms due to the way that they're held, and you may feel a little bit like Wolverine. These weapons also work great for combination attacks like slashing with one hand while stabbing with the other. The ranged attack for the katars are like shooting an energy gun. Pull the trigger quickly to send a barrage of energy bullets at your enemy, or hold the trigger to build up a large blast. Lastly, we have one of my personal favorites, the Crusader, which gives you a flail and larger shield. The physics on the flail are really well done. You can spin it all around, and the faster and harder you spin, the faster and harder the flail will fly. Because the flail is a pretty useless defensive weapon, it's paired with a decent sized shield for blocking enemy attacks. The ranged attack for the flail fires energy bolts from your swinging flail. Tap the trigger as you swing to send bolts towards your enemy, and the faster and harder you swing, the faster they will fire. I love the variety of the classes and how they are designed, each one to work totally differently from the other. The goal is actually to add even more classes and weapon types in the future, and the Kickstarter will actually help accelerate that if it exceeds its funding goal. Now let's talk about the game itself a little bit more. Each match takes place on a giant floating platform at a random time of day. I didn't get the chance to see a nighttime match, but it uses spotlights to light up the arena. Visually, the game already looks great, and it does things on the Quest that are very impressive. In fact, the developer said he made it his goal to do exactly what it was said was not possible on the Quest to show it can be done. The lighting and reflections in the game are just beautiful. The weapons cast a glow on the ground, and you can even see your weapon glowing in the opponent's armor. You can also see dynamic shadows based on the time of day you're playing. At dusk, you can see long shadows cast to your side. When it comes to the visual aspect of this game, it honestly already looks better than many of the games I've experienced on the Quest. I'm talking red matter quality light effects and visuals here. Okay, so what about the gameplay? How does it play, and is it fun? I could just say it plays great, and yes, it's totally fun, but I'll expound a little on that. Each match starts you off from a distance from your opponent where you can use your ranged attacks. You can see your health and energy bar on the giant jumbotron behind your opponent, which I love, by the way, because it eliminates any kind of HUD. Ranged attacks and melee attacks use energy, and to build back up your energy, you hold down on the A and X buttons at the same time. This results in a very satisfying Dragon Ball Z style energy charging. Here is as good a place as any to say that this is not a hack and slash game, and it takes some thought and strategy. You'll need to power up your energy meter to attack, but when you power up, it also makes you more vulnerable to attacks, as seen in your health bar as a pink section of the red health. That'll go away over time, but if you take damage during the cooldown period, then the attacks will do double damage. Ranged attacks are pretty self-explanatory. You do a ranged attack and the opponent has to block the bolt or what have you, and vice versa. Melee combat is where it gets interesting and a little more strategic. To move forwards towards your opponent, you hold down the A button and pull towards yourself like pulling a rope. This will initiate the attack. How long you're able to attack is based on your energy meter as it depletes as you are attacking. The combat is structured so that only the individual attacking can cause damage, while the defending individual tries to parry and block the attacks. It makes for a much more thought out and cinematic feeling back and forth combat. Once the energy meter is gone, your avatar will automatically retreat. You can also end an attack early by holding the A button again and pushing away from yourself. Did I mention that all the melee attacks are in slow motion? That may sound weird, but honestly it works really well. As soon as you or your opponent initiates a melee attack, time slows down, which makes combat much more than hacking at each other hoping to land a hit and causing damage. You find yourself planning your swings and thinking ahead as you try to anticipate your opponent's block or attack depending on whether you're attacking or defending. It feels like you're in a slow motion medieval action movie scene, and it plays really well. Speaking of movie scenes, let's talk about another amazing aspect of this game, the replay system. After each match, you can choose to save the replay and then jump into the replays/gifs menu, where you can export third-person GIFs of your fights for easy-to-share snippets. You can even choose the camera rotation speed, the angle, and the distance. It's an awesome way to take highlights and easily make them shareable on social platforms. The recording is then uploaded to JiffyCat and also saved on your Quest and can be accessed using SideQuest. If you've seen the trailer for the game, all of that footage was captured in-game using the replay system. I, for one, am extremely excited about Ironlights and the potential it has to create a multiplayer scene for 1v1 sword-based combat on the Quest. People are already starting to form clans for tournaments and championships. Not only does it look great, it's also unique and it plays beautifully. If you're interested in checking out Ironlights, then jump over to the link in the description to head to their Kickstarter for more information. The game is set to launch in the spring for $20, but if you pre-order it now on Kickstarter, you can snag it now for just $15, a 25% savings, and if you want to get into the private beta and start playing sooner with a friend, $40 will get you 2 copies of the final launch game and access for 2 to the private beta. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to get the most out of your Oculus Quest, remember to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time, and happy questing.